Karl Urban is one of our finest genre actors. Maybe it's because he really loves the world of sci-fi and fantasy, or maybe it's because he knows we'd be constantly bringing up his recurring role as Cupid in Xena if he didn't embrace it. With him back in cinemas this week as Bones in Star Trek Beyond, what better time to look back over his career? I'm Alex from WhatCulture.com, and here's 5 awesome Karl Urban performances and 5 that sucked. Let's kick things off with the awesome performances. Number 5, Karl, The Bourne Supremacy. The Bourne series isn't lacking for solid villains. Identity had mercurial sniper Clive Owen and manic Chris Cooper-esque Chris Cooper. Ultimatum had Albert Finney's Architect, and Legacy has Matt Damon's refusal to return. Sorry, Jeremy, you tried your best. In that company, Urban's Russian operative Kirill is a bit of an outsider, but he's still a great prolonged threat in what is still the series' best film. Prove me wrong, Greengrass. Popping up at the start to undo the first film's happy ending prematurely, he really proves his action chops in the intense chase finale, a solid, imposing turn. Number 4, Éomer, The Lord of the Rings. Urban's first major role, although one that didn't really lead to greater things straight away, was as Éomer in Lord of the Rings. It's not the most complex character, he's not got the parental conflict of Faramir or the social injustice of Éowyn, but Urban pitches the conflicted honourable knight fighting against the forces of evil with just enough to flesh him out. You could call him the Lord of the Rings Ned Stark if it wasn't for this. Biggest of all, he gets to be an essential part of one of the trilogy's most undeniably awesome moments. Number 3, Nick Harvey, Out of the Blue. No, not the ELO album I listened to much more than I'd like to admit, but the 2006 New Zealand crime drama about the real-life Aramoana massacre. It's a heavily serious affair and one of Urban's most traditional roles. Every other performance on this list is from a genre film. He plays one of the first reactive police officers, slowly uncovering the true horror that's unfolded and serving as the audience's in into something intense and harrowing. His ultimate reaction to the tragedy is some of his best work. Now this film's rather underseen, but really check it out. It's one that really highlights his versatility. Number 2, Leonard McCoy, Star Trek. Bones is one of the most sidelined characters in the Star Trek reboot. In the original series, DeForest Kelley was the third player alongside Shatner and Nimoy, but despite being there from early on to deform Chris Pine, he takes a backseat to the central love-hate relationship in J.J. Abrams' reboot. No matter, because like the rest of the youthful recast, Urban's great, managing to evoke the original while bringing something a little different as well. Stern, friendly, job-focused, he's a great presence, and it's no surprise that his role is bigger and beyond. He also gets the best line of the whole reboot series.
Got nowhere else to go. The ex-wife took the whole damn planet in the divorce. All I got left is my bones.
Number 1, Judge Dredd. Dredd. Anything would look amazing compared to this.
You betray the law!
But even if Stallone had delivered a character-defining version of Judge Dredd, probably not, Urban would have still been a knockout as Old Joseph. He's as perfect a comic book transference as you can imagine. Not just holding himself like the 2000 AD icon in a conversation and a fight, but has the grime soaked into his personality. Excitingly, for something so outward, it's an incredibly restrained performance, with that helmet staying on firmly throughout. I'm not even that big a fan of the film itself. It has a lot of grimy 3D baiting style over substance, but even I want more of this character. But Urban isn't always the law. Now it's time to look at 5 times he sucked. Number 5, Ghost, Pathfinder. The downside of being a genre actor is you're inevitably going to be offered one of those dreary swords and armor action films that attempts to stylize history and have to go with it for the money. Urban's version of this was Pathfinder, where the chosen culture to desecrate was the Vikings. A Norse-born raised by American natives, his arc is exactly what you expect. He's not accepted by either side, but eventually proves himself with maximum bloodshed. It's like the anti-Superman. Urban's job as the film, mopey and bland, and just doesn't follow through to make it truly badass. What a waste. Number 4, Black Hat, Priest. The shitty Paul Bettany dystopian actioner where he isn't a machine gun toting angel, Priest is a sci-fi gothic mashup about the eternal war between humans and vampires. So, a dour underworld ripoff then. Urban plays the villain, called Black Hat because he has a black hat, and leads the vampires with a performance that constantly nibbles the scenery without ever becoming delightfully silly or oddly impressive. Every line is delivered as if it's a profound statement, whispered with sizzling intent until he gets the odd bit of action that's so hampered by the movie's flat visual stylings, the few good faces he pulls are lost. With a better director, perhaps this could have worked as a B-movie throwback. As it is, it's terrible. Number 3, John Grimm, Doom. Made back when video game movies were still crap. No, scratch that. Let's start this again. Unsurprisingly crap because it's a video game movie, Doom often gets chalked up as a rock movie, mainly because he's the only semi-ironically good thing in it.
Semper Fi, motherfucker.
It's actually an Urban joint, with Karl cashing in on his Lord of the Rings notoriety to get the lead Reaper. He's playing the generic action hero and nothing more, staring into space with a vacant expression in most scenes and grimacing unnecessarily in others. Never convincing as a soldier, nor as a doting brother to Rosamund Pike. You could say the final fight between Urban and The Rock is a schlockily good time. You'd also be wrong. Number 2, Zack, Walking with Dinosaurs. Remember BBC's Walking with Dinosaurs? Well, what if we took that name and used it as the backdrop for a grating educational kids animation with CGI that would have looked out of date in 1999? Sprinkle in a bizarre modern-day bookmarking segment where Karl Urban channels Alan Grant, and you've got a thrillless prehistoric adventure that arrived too early to capitalise on the success of Jurassic World. Obviously, it's made for dino-obsessive age 6 and under, but that doesn't excuse Karl Urban's bland, cool uncle here. He moses around with forced charisma before solving a major paleontological mystery on a whim, care of a talking bird. I can't even explain why he did this one. Number 1, Varco, The Chronicles of Riddick. The Riddick series has always confused me, mainly because Pitch Black is such a clear standalone and an iffy one at that. The expansion of the film into a full-on mythology in The Chronicles of Riddick is nothing more than Vin Diesel stroking his ego. Sorry, but that's all it is. He makes himself king at the end. To become king, he beats out Karl Urban's Varco, although he's really just another angry soldier with a silly hairstyle that we've seen too much of on this list. Perhaps most disquieting is that Urban came back for a brief cameo in Riddick, setting up more appearances down the line. Oh dear. Still, it's kind of fitting that when so many of Urban's gritty heroes were just him staring grumpily, that the one time it really worked was when you couldn't see any of his face at all. And there's our list. What's your favourite Karl Urban performance? What's your least favourite? Let us know what you thought down in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more great film content, and you can follow me on Twitter here. I'll see you soon.